Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 3 of the Inside Edge podcast with Coach Clark. I am your co-host, Gehrig Schilling. What we up to? What we been up to today, Coach? How we doing?
Well, doing okay, but on the ice a lot and taking a day off. Going to get caught up on things around the house and in our restaurant. But always a busy day between hockey and pizza and my dogs.
That's what's
I'm
up.
always busy. Yeah,
I
that's
am
what's
on
up.
4 hours of sleep. Baby duty is 24/7 right now, so
Yeah. Been there,
uh,
been there, and done that a few times. It's
yeah, yeah.
congrats, congrats
So
on Nolan. But
thank you very much. Coach met Nolan before the show, so he has gotten to see the namesake. But we were talking a little bit before the show. You were on a couple of powwows this week on the phone talking about just essentially the inner workings of goaltending coaching and how to work with and develop guys at the level just before you get to the precipice, the NHL, right?
yep, yep. Had a long conversation yesterday, I think it was. With a gentleman, a very good friend named Hannu Toivonen, who played in the NHL, played for Boston, St. Louis, a little with Chicago, I think, and a long time in Europe. But he's a Finnish goaltender, and he's now the developmental goaltender with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So we spent an hour on the phone just talking, talking shop and talking about his situation in Toronto and who he deals with and some of the challenges there. And I think they have three goalies in the American League now, which is very difficult because someone's not happy. When you have three goalies, whether it's reps in practice, getting the work you want to get in or you need, and games played. So when you have a three goalie rotation and the developmental level, like the American League, is really difficult for everyone. But it is what it is. Most NHL teams have depth in goaltending, 5 or 6 under contract. So 2 up top in the National League, usually 2 in the American League, and then usually 1, maybe 2 in the East Coast League, in the ECHL. And I think Toronto has 6 guys on NHL contracts, 5 or 6. So a little bit of a logjam there, and I'm not sure of the length of their contracts and who's expiring and who's not. But yeah, we had a long chat yesterday, Hanu and I. We've known each other for a number of years, and ironically, I met Hanu through his brother, Juha Toivonen, who was a goaltender in Odessa in the early years of pro hockey in Odessa, Texas. And Juha Toivonen was a very good goalie, played in the Central League, and the league that Brad Treliving, now the GM for the Toronto Maple Leafs, Brad was the commissioner of the league. So Juha Toivonen played with Odessa, was Rookie of the Year, I believe his first year. I think he was 20 years old, but did a great job and went on to play in the Finnish top league in Finland, Finnish National League. But good kid. And then I met Hanu down the road a little bit right after he got done playing. But Hanu is young; he's in his early 40s, and he's got a really good path in front of him. But I think he's on year 5 right now with Toronto, and I think he's in the last year of his contract. So we'll see how that plays out. But really good guy, very patient guy, easy to talk to. And if you're a goalie, and Gary, you know this, it's important to have someone who can have a good conversation with, an
Yep.
honest conversation, and just the communication skills. It's all, at that level when you're hiring a goalie coach. And Hanu and I talked about it. You're hiring a personality, and someone's
And a
personality. There
therapist.
are guys. Yeah, exactly. So if you're a therapist or a goalie shrink, as I've been called at times, you have to have the ability to listen, and you have to have the ability to know when to speak and when to shut up.
A little bit of
And
bedside manner.
yeah, it's a big deal. And at that level, whether it's the National League or the American League, these guys are super talented, and their style has pretty much been determined. So your job as a coach is to watch a lot, and when questions arise or when any doubt arises, that's when you can help out. And, but there's a level of trust built between these goalies and their goalie coach, whatever level they're at. It's kind of delicate, but it's more of the human side. As a goalie coach, you've just got to know. Really, I think know when to speak and when to shut up, and there's
Yep.
a time for both.
Like
But
we
it was fun. So,
like we
go
spoke
ahead.
about last episode, it's like a good caddy, right? You got to be as invisible as
Bingo.
you need to be until you're needed, and then you need to be right there with the yardage with the right club.
Right, right on the money. That's a great analogy, and I would imagine in baseball too, pitching coach. Yes or no?
Yeah, absolutely. My
Yeah.
dad will tell you it was Johnny Padres in Philadelphia for him that
Yeah.
kind of reset
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard many Johnny Padres stories from your dad. But
You can
again,
imagine me.
there's oh yeah, yeah. But imagine a pitching coach dealing with how many how many pitchers on a roster? 8, 9.
There's typically anywhere from 8 to 12 because of the bullpen and how you
Yeah.
handle starting pitching.
Yeah. So you've got 12 pitchers on your roster. You've got 12 different deliveries to the plate, 12 different styles, and the end goal is to throw it across the plate, and same thing with goaltending. The end goal is to stop pucks. But you have all these different personalities that as a coach you've got to manage. I think is much more difficult in baseball because you have so many. Hockey you have two maybe goalies you got to deal with, maybe three. But yeah, but getting back to my conversation with Hanu, was just a super guy, very patient guy, very mature. But if I'm a goalie, I want to be coached by this guy because he knows the game. Obviously, he played at the highest level, but he's got a good temperament. And other conversation I had, and I mentioned this to you, which is we do this once a year. So I've got a bunch of clients, roughly 10 or so, that are goalies that are all different age levels. Some are teenagers, some are in college. And once a year, we get on a Zoom call with Connor Hellebuck. And this year, after the success he had last year, is kind of a bigger deal. So we got on last Thursday evening after supper, and he's got two little kids at home, so his schedule is kind of tight. He's got chaos going on at home, but we normally have a Zoom call with Helly, and the guys can throw any questions they want at him, and he answers them, right? So this Zoom call went 2 hours. And usually we try to keep it as an hour because of everyone's personal life, right? But this one stretched 2 hours, almost exactly 2 hours. And Helly was unbelievable. Like the depth he went into on his answers. And some of the questions were like, how do you handle bad games or bad goals? Or, there's millions of questions they can throw at him, but he's great. There's no bad question. And he's not afraid to really get into what he's doing too. And some of the comments he made, he's always changing, always tweaking things with his game. And the thing he got across to these guys on this call, and previous calls too, he said, don't be afraid to tweak things at all. But the main thing is don't worry about anything. If something, and he does this too, Garrett, if something is a little off, his mindset is, I'm not going to worry about it. His mindset is, all right, now I got something to work on. And that is just positivity versus negativity. He looks
It's
at it as,
such a it's such a crucial avenue to be able to put your mindset in when you play an 82 game season plus playoffs. I mean, the amount of ups and downs in the roller coaster you go on through that period of time. I mean, even shorter seasons at less professional levels. It's an
yeah,
exhausting, mentally taxing game. We've talked about that before as well with the position. Um, you're talking about these calls being like a regular thing. You're saying that the heli one is usually an hour every year. You have a yearly powwow with certain goalie coaches. What do you specifically at this point, coach, get out of that? Is it more so just a refresher, or is it like let's keep the pulse going within the goaltending community? What can I get from these guys? Because it's always something you can learn and take stuff from.
Yeah, well, these guys like Matt Millar is young; he's in his 30s. Hanu is young, what I call young; he's in his early 40s. And typically, we talk shop about how to handle different situations. So I'll tell you about a phone call I got. I think it was 2 years ago. Cal Peterson was with LA, and he had just signed a bit of a surprising 3-year deal, 5 million a year. So he's, they made a commitment to him, and so right after he signed the contract, he just started to struggle for whatever reason. And Matt Millar is in the American League, right, as a goalie coach and handling them. He's got his guys there, his two guys there, and he calls me one day and he said, "Hey," he said, "don't mention this to anyone, but tomorrow Cal Peterson's going to be sent down here." I said, "Okay." All right. And he says, "Okay, what do I do?" So those are the conversations, that we have. And I just gave him my advice on, the first thing you've got to do is build some trust, and you don't jump into it and say you're doing this right, doing this wrong, whatever. But you just watch and have conversations with him, and over time, trust will come around. He'll trust you, what you say, and how you say it. He'll buy into it, but it just takes time. So my advice to him was to don't push it too fast, too strong, too fast, and just use your own instincts as to what's wrong with his game. Why is he struggling up top? But it's all mental. It's 100% mental. It's not 98% mental. It's 100% mental. So you've got to get it to a point with this goalie where he trusts you, and you got to build his confidence back up, get him to believe in himself, and you could do that through repetition of drills or conversation. Just talk shop with him and about situations, you know, little video, not too much video, but some video just to go over his game and why he has struggled at the higher level. So, um,
Depends on the guy, right? I mean,
yeah,
for
yeah,
me,
yeah.
I'm
Oh,
definitely a visual learner, so like seeing myself make the mistake is much, much more because I'll feel it the next time I go through that motion. That's at least how I worked, but every guy's different.
and
Um,
Matt Millar was pretty new. I think it was 2 years ago. Matt Millar was pretty new to the organization and pretty new to that role. He had coached in the USHL, and that's where I met him. I think he was with Dubuque. Had great success there, but just a good guy. He kind of reminds me of a young Wade Flaherty, and Flats is Connor Hellebuck's goalie coach, a longtime goalie coach in Winnipeg, has the same approach. He's not a bully type of coach. He listens, and he's just a good dude. But I've seen other goalie coaches, and I've watched them. Some of them, it's all about them, and you can't be like that. You've got to be able to not be noticed as a goalie coach, and just be like the goalie whisperer. And uh and that, Wade Flaherty of Winnipeg is fantastic, and he's a big reason, and he's a big kind of unknown reason why Helly has had so much success, because he has a guy right next to him, that sees him every day in practice, that knows what he's going through, and is there to put out any fires, mentally or physically, mostly mental. And that's why Helly's been so successful. He's had good people around him. He's had me around him whenever he needs me for 14 years now. You know, on site, he's got Wade Flaherty and Flats, and Wade's a good friend. Like, he's a great friend. I typically will go to Winnipeg once or twice a year. Always wind up talking shop with Flats, and we've done Net 360 together in Kelowna. British Columbia for 3 or 4 years, and so we got to know each other really, really well. But he he understands my role with Connor, and I'm not a threat to him, and he knows that. But there are some goalie coaches that couldn't handle that.
Yeah,
Someone outside tinkering with their guy. There's in my view, goalie coaches, there's some on the dark side who are in it for themselves, and there are some on the good side who just want to help these guys. They don't care if they get any credit whatsoever. So we try to. If I'm a GM, I want to choose these guys. Fill these positions very, very carefully because they're going to mold guys, especially in the American League where Hanu is and where Matt Millar is. They're going to mold the guys that might be on the way up.
that's
And
that's why I was so interested. Sorry to interrupt you, Coach, but
oh, you're
that's why I was
fine.
so interested in what you guys talk about because it makes sense to me that these guys call you for because you work at a developmental level. You work with these kids at a very crucial point in not only their physical development, but their mental development. When at the point in their lives where they're becoming confident, where they're getting that ego you need to be the one guy that stands between you and a goal.
Yep.
Uh, so for them, it's a little bit harder to answer, I guess. And it might, I don't mean any offense. What are they calling you for, coach? What do they get from talking to you about the professional level of the game that these kids, or that they maybe forget being coaching at a higher level of hockey?
Well, sometimes it's just reemphasizing what should be done, and situational drills. And that's a challenge because the time that they're given by the head coaches is very limited to work on their game, like goalie sessions. It's hard. But we will talk specifically about the personalities of the guys. And again, my conversation with them, these are friends, and they want a little bit of advice. Some of it's affirmation as to how to talk to them, what to say to them, and uh, and just keep everything calm and no panic and don't worry. And some of the stuff that I talk to, like Helly's big deal is don't worry about anything, and I will pass that along to guys like Matt Millar, and Hanu Toivonen. Make sure your goalies are are in a mindset where they're not walking on eggshells. They're not looking over their shoulder because they're worried about being pulled or worried about You can't worry about anything. Can't think about anything. Just stop the puck. Try to stop the puck. Try to enjoy it. Try to have a little fun, and typically everything will work out. But it's the most difficult, I think, the most difficult position in all of sports because it's kind of a game within a game, and you're on an island. You're out there by yourself. But for these guys, for these goalies, knowing that they have someone in their corner, like a Matt Millar or Hanu Toivonen or whoever the goal or Wade Flaherty, that means everything. Because when things go wrong, pucks go in, you lose games, they have someone to talk to about it. And sometimes there's nothing you can do. So sometimes it's say, hey, you know what? Great play, great shot. Forget about it, move on. Don't dwell on anything. So these coaches need to remind these young goalies about that situation. Sometimes just, you know what, move on. Your rear view mirror is going to be tiny.
The more and more we talk about this, coach, the more I feel like the caddy analogy makes just more and more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
We've talked a little bit about in the past the importance of like skating and edge work for a goalie. One thing I wanted to ask about you specifically is when you're working with these guys, we've talked a lot about the mental aspect and letting water run off your back like a duck in terms of the things that come and go, good and bad. Just you got to be even keel. What
Yeah.
about the skating and edge work that you work on specifically? Do you try and get if these guys are only with you a week, 4 weeks, however long it is, that you try and emphasize and at least have them take away from no matter how
Yeah.
long a time period it is?
Yeah. So if you were going to produce a flow chart, like number one on the top, like a triangular flow chart, number one, and then number two, number three, four, five, six, whatever it may be. Number one is skating because you have to get around the crease. Um, if I'm going to have a guy for a week, I would say, boy, 75% is going to be skating. And you have a very small area to cover. Well, a lot of, what a lot of goalies make the mistake of getting sucked out of the play, leaving the back door wide open. And what I really stress is try to stay between the pipes. And there's a time to go out and challenge, and there's a time to stay back, yourself a chance to make backdoor saves. But the biggest thing is your east-west, and that breaking that down. All of this gets broken down. So picture this: a goalie goes down in a butterfly and makes a save, or a rebound or a block shot goes 3 feet to their left. Well, they've got to get to a new spot. They got to get to their spot. And how do you do that? You rotate, you load up on that inside edge, and you push. And I think that is number one, is your pushes in the paint when you're in a butterfly, and you're in the butterfly a lot. I don't know what the percentage is, but I would say 70% of the time you're in a butterfly.
That's where
But
you're
you
making
have,
most of your money.
yeah, and you have to have the ability to load up on that inside edge and push. And I know I've sent some video to you about very
Yeah.
specific drills that I have for that.
I'll put
And
some through here while we're having this conversation, Coach.
yeah, yeah. And yesterday I'm on the ice with some young goalies, U18, U16, and work on skating. For the first day of workouts, and some of them have never been introduced to this stuff, so it's new. So they're going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly early on, but as time goes on, it gets really, really good. But the other aspect is skating, but also staying big. And how many times do you see a goalie on his stomach? And you're in the paint, and you push, and then you wind up on your stomach. You're just trying to make that desperation save. Well, I don't want that. I want guys to be up and big and upright. And I have a saying: be as big as you can, as long as you can. Right. And
That was a very difficult part for me, was keeping my chest upright and then having the caved in shoulder, because I was good at sitting upright, but I would always let stuff kick up off me into the air. So it's just such a when you brought up skating originally, for me, I understood that playing a little bit of goalie. But
yeah,
God, man, you don't understand when coach is talking about pushing and edge work, how crucial and hard and seriously badass these guys' inner legs are to be able to do stuff that they do on their knees and on the ground like that is insane.
yeah. I showed a picture of UC Soros, in sitting in his locker, and he's not a big guy. He's 5'10", I think, and an NHL goalie, and his legs are like that. And there was a picture of him sitting in his stall talking to reporters in his shorts, so you could see the definition in his legs.
Like
And I said,
Saquon Barkley legs.
yeah, yep. And so my point is, these guys, especially teenagers, they don't have their man strength yet, in their legs. You typically don't get, everyone gets their man strength at different ages, but typically you got to be 20, 21, 22 or beyond before you get
Mine's
that true.
loading now. It's called dad strength.
Yeah, yeah. But you have to have, strong legs. And that picture of UC Soros was a bit of a wake-up call to some of these younger guys, like, holy smokes, I'm not there. You're not even close. But you have to have leg strength, and you load up on your inside edge, but you do it in a way where you're big moving across, not on your stomach. Stomach is a desperation deal. If you wind up on your stomach, you better have the puck. Because if
Yeah,
you
you better
don't,
be covering it.
yeah, you better have it. 100% you have it. I don't like, even when guys have it, I don't hurting us, but it is a
Yeah, the
great,
scariest thing as a fan of the Bruins is when a goalie goes down to cover a puck and he's looking around while
yeah,
he should have it under him.
no idea. He has no
Yeah.
idea. Right. And, but there's a time and a place for everything. Sometimes you load up and you push across and you get to that far post and you have to make a desperation save. Sometimes you do go down to your stomach. That's fine. In the heat of the battle, you got to do what you got to do. Right. I never say never. Right. I never say don't ever wind up on your stomach. I just tell these guys, try to avoid that as much as you can, because when you're down on your stomach, look at what's available up top. Like 85% of the nets available. All right. If you stay upright and big, you're a butterfly, and you just boom, you hit the post. Um, then you're big. I mean, you're taking up way more net. So it's just, it's a gamble. Everything you do as a goalie is a gamble. You could play a situation perfectly, and the puck still finds a way to go in the net. So that's why it goes back to the mental part. Hey, I did this right. Why did the puck go in? That's just the game sometimes. That's the position. And sometimes you make saves you have no business making, but what I try to do is put these guys in a situation where they make game-changing saves, right? Their pushes across, butterfly save, glove save, whatever. But a lot goes into that. You just because you're in the right spot doesn't give you the right to stop tracking the puck, right? So a lot of guys will get to their, like a really bad angle shot, for example, like say the bottom of the circle, and I practice that with every goalie I have a ton because it's awkward. It's a really uncomfortable position for the goalie to face a shot. What do I do? Do I square up? Well, if you square up completely to him at a bad angle, back door is wide open. So you got to side saddle it a little bit. You maybe one knee drop, maybe you do a post load, RVH, whatever. There's different situations, and the angle is changing every millisecond, right? So good luck. So this will all come down to your instincts, and the more experience you have, the more you can rely on your instincts as to what to do in a situation. But again, it all starts with your ability to skate, and I'm going to send you some more video. Yep, there's one I have them going across the blue line, and we typically do some edge work. You could do hops over the blue from board to board, just to get some edge work in, like a slalom, inside edge, outside edge, 1 foot all the way across, and then switch feet coming back. Or you do the leap of faith, where they're skating forward and they'll lift off on one skate, spin and land on the other skate, and you got to hold it. And I think you have that video. But all of
Figure
this is,
skating.
yeah, it looks like power skating, figure skating, and but it's edge control, right? And in the heat of the battle in a game, you've got to have superior edge control, elite edge control. And all of these drills, they look really funny, and people will look at me or look at us, go, well, "What the hell are you guys doing?" But it's all about edge control, and which leads me into what I've done, like this past summer and the summer before, which keeps me extremely busy, way busier than I thought. I ran into a gentleman named Curtis Brown 2 summers ago. I didn't know Curtis Brown, right? And how it happened was I had a couple of goalies, and when you run goalie sessions, you need shooters, and you need good shooters. And in Lincoln, Nebraska in the summertime, it's not that easy to find. And you could be in any city. It's hard to find guys to come out and shoot in the off season. Well, Curtis Brown, who played, I think he played 12, 14 years in the NHL, was an elite skater, right? But he also has 3 sons, and his youngest is playing in the USHL, living in Lincoln, Nebraska. So where some of the guys that were on the ice would say, "Hey, we know Griffin Brown, who's with Lincoln, and we know Griffin Brown. He'll come out and shoot." Well, great, bring him out. I don't care. We'll see. So Griffin shows up early in the summer at one of our skates, and his dad's there, kind of watching. What's going on. So he sees what we're doing, and he said, "Hey, would you mind?" Now I don't know Curtis from a hole in the wall. He said, "Would you mind if I come out and work on, bring some guys out, we'll share the ice." And I said, "No, absolutely." So we just blended goalie workout. He had his skaters out there working on edge work, and then we would merge the two. And they are spectacular training sessions. I mean, unbelievable. And no one knows about it. It's very quiet. We've had, some top goalies come out and work out, but you have to have good shooters. So Curtis Brown coaches Lincoln. He's associated with the USHL's program in that he's the head coach for the USHL I'm sorry, for the U18 and U16 teams in Lincoln. And he works, everything to him is efficiency and skating and edge work. And we get along great, but it's been a great relationship. And he allows me time to work with the goalies during practice at the beginning of practice. He'll say, how much time do you need with the goalies today? And I said, 30 minutes. He goes, how about 25? And so, and I said, how about 35? So we'll negotiate. He's got a job to do training his guys, the skaters, and I've got a job to do, but he allows me way more time than any other coach I've worked with. And he knows the importance of it. And we're pushing goalies. That Lincoln U18 program, especially in 16s, they're pushing goalies up and on. And so it's a lot of fun. So when you asked earlier, what do I do with my time in the off season? I'm on the ice probably more than I am during the season. And I think we're on the ice 3 times, 4 times a week. And Curtis loves to go. The goalies love the workouts. And some of these goalies, Gehrig, are getting ready for camps, tryout camps or training camps, just so they can show their goods. And they want to be ready. So that's really what we do. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of satisfaction seeing guys just kind of climb the ladder. It's a very difficult ladder to climb, and they're getting a taste of that now. But moving up in junior hockey, getting to college, that whole landscape has changed in the last couple of years with the CHL ruling, major junior players coming in. So there aren't as many jobs as there used to be. But when some of the goalies ask about, how am I going to make it now? And major junior goalies are now eligible to play the NCAA. My response is, hey, college teams want elite goalies. Make sure you're one of them. Simple as that, right? So they've got to work, and sometimes, and not just goalies, Gehrig, but all skaters, they realize to continue on to, if they want to make the leap to junior hockey, make the leap to college hockey, make the leap to pro hockey, it is a lot of work. It's work. You've got to put the work in. And some guys realize when and I've seen this, I've literally witnessed this. Guys come into the office, they're 19 years old, maybe 20, and I go, you know what? I don't love the game. I like the game. I like the game, but I don't love it enough to put on all this work. Makes sense? So I tell them, you know what? You're probably doing the right thing. A lot of guys love the game or like the game until they realize how much work is going to go into it. And then they go, yeah, I'm not so sure about this.
One of my favorite quotes, and we'll wrap it up here in a minute, that I hear from Ryan Whitney of Spit and Chicklets fame is he talks about, every kid who's 8 to 12 years old is going to go to the show. Their parents know they're going to go to the show. And then those kids get introduced to alcohol and women for the first time, And then they need to decide whether or not that hockey is the most important thing in their life anymore. And I think, at least for me personally, I was that way with baseball. I think I got to high school and I realized, oh wow, I like going to the movies and hanging out with my friends and
Exactly.
going out to parties and stuff, and that kind of, it's not the worst thing in the world. It takes a back seat for you, but I think for me, sports and hockey more specifically taught me how to be a part of a unit and to take a back seat at times and to not think of myself as the center of attention. So
Yeah.
all these things, whether you end up Connor Hellebuck or not, are important life lessons both on and off the ice. So I think that's a cool part of the position and a reason I like talking to you every week.
Yeah, me too. A lot of fun.
Anything else?
No, I'm good.
All righty.
Let me know. I think I've sent quite a bit of video to you, and I'm going to just keep sending it so you can use
Awesome.
You can use whatever you want, but I'm going to keep sending it. When I get, like, next week, for example, I'm on the ice a lot, so I'm going to get some clips and show you specifically what we work on. And it's good stuff, I think. Good material.
Awesome. This show is going to start going out on Saturday mornings, everybody, just so you know. All right, so And also, we are at a great time. It is September 3rd as we are talking right now, and hockey season is fast approaching, not just the NHL, but all minor and international developmental leagues. So we will have plenty to talk about coming up soon.
Yeah, a lot, a lot. So looking forward to it. All right. Have a great one.
See you soon, coach.
All right. Be good, buddy. Good luck with Nolan.
Thank you.
All right.